Welcome, good afternoon and good morning. This is Jim Gerson from CareStack. You're in the right place. You're here for our 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, and where I am in San Francisco, California, 10 a.m. Pacific time, CE program hosted by Dr. Laura Mock. You're in the right place, and we have a really good turnout today. So I want to wait about another 45 seconds until we get started. And the good news is your cameras are intentionally on mute, and so are your microphones. So don't worry, we can't see you out there, but we do want you to be involved. And for this program with Dr. Mock to be really effective, we want you to participate. So if you're watching this on a PC, you have a Q&A feature if you want to ask questions. But I know Dr. Laura is going to ask and pose questions to you. And if you want to use chat, and that's more appropriate, please do so. So Dr. Mock, do you mind if we wait about another 30 seconds and then we'll get started?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm comfy here. All good.
Okay. Because the numbers keep going up and I want to make sure that we give people a chance to log in. So for those of you who showed up on time, really appreciate it. A quick reminder is that we are offering 1 hour of CE for this program. It's AGD accredited. And when you're done with this program, we're going to give you a code at the 60th minute of the program, because we take accreditation seriously here at CareStack in Darby. And you'll go into the CE Zoom portal. If it's required by your state, you're going to take a quick multiple choice test, and then you'll be awarded your CE credits. But I want to let everyone know so you're not mad at me and you don't hunt me down and try to find my home address. If you're here just for the CE credit, I'm not going to give you that code here in the 3rd or 4th minute. Right, Jeff and Dan? Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And you guys are going to back me up?
Way back.
Course.
Way
Okay,
back.
thank you. All right, so let's get started, Dr. Mock, if that's all right with you.
Yep.
Again, Jim Gerson from CareStack here. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Daly from Darby so we can give a quick introduction on our sponsor today.
Sure. So, super quick, our shameless plug before we turn it over to Dr. Mock and some really valuable content and perspective that I think she's going to bring to today's presentation. What a lot of people may already know about Darby is that we help partner with practices to keep dental supply costs down. Over the past 10 years or so, we've really been focused on building out a suite of services and solutions that our practices and our customers tell us that they, the challenges they face on a daily basis. So CareStack is one of those partnerships to help support practices' needs from a practice management standpoint. But today, our services and solutions include things like IT service, mechanical service, full implant and surgical offering, and a number of other areas. So if you have any questions or would like to know how we can help your practice in some of these ways, please feel free to reach out to any one of our knowledgeable and well-trained account managers. They'd be more than happy to help, educate you on what Darby may be able to do for your practice and see if there's a fit. So, that's who we are in a nutshell, and I'll kick it over to Jim.
Thank you, Jeff. So we promise this is the last commercial mention, then we're getting into Dr. Mock's program. So Jim Gerson, I represent CareStack. CareStack is a 100% cloud-based solution for the complete management of the dental practice. And we find ourselves working with two types of offices. The first is growing, ambitious, having success. They see technology as offering that competitive advantage, and they just don't know how to get there. They need some help. The second type of practice, unfortunately, they're suffocating. They're frustrated and aggravated with having to add all these subscriptions on top of their legacy software to offer solutions that include two-way texting, patient engagement, electronic claims, remote forms, and so forth. And lots of times sleepless nights results because they're just so frustrated with managing all these different subscriptions. And if that's the case, what I ask you to do is hang on after Dr. Mock's CE course today. We'll give you your credit hours. And then we're going to have a 15-minute demonstration on CareStack. And we're also going to have a drawing for an Amazon gift card. So if you're able to, again, you're not going to be held hostage. It's not like one of those, you go on vacation and you get roped into going and looking at a timeshare and they won't let you leave until you're there for 4 hours. That's not the case here. So we're going to give you your CE credit, but if you have an extra 15 minutes, hang on and take a little bit of a quick demo, a little peek behind the curtain with CareStack. So thank you so much. I'm now going to turn it over to Dr. Mock. I think she's got a tremendous program here today, really geared for all elements of the dental practice. So Dr. Mock, I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you could give a quick introduction on your backgrounds, your journey in dentistry, I think that'd be a great place to start.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim and Dan. Appreciate you guys. And Jeff is on here too. Thank you so much for inviting me on to give this presentation. So I'm Dr. Laura Mock. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to introduce myself to you. So hopefully I seem smart enough that you'll enjoy this presentation. I've been a couple places in my life, and I think as I do this, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So I am a general dentist, and I practice in the Midwest, actually in Iowa. And yes, this last weekend, I did just harvest my own corn. So I'm really carrying on the tradition there. But I am actually a former dental assistant. I went to dental assisting, worked as a dental assistant prior to going to dental school. And then I graduated in 2007 and immediately purchased a dental practice. And so I've been a practice owner for 15 years now. And in addition to that, I am a certified life coach, trained and certified. And what I do is I actually coach dentists, and more specifically dentists who own their dental practices. And I also have a podcast, and on the podcast, we just kind of talk about what we're going to be talking about today, which is basically our feels, because this presentation today is kind of like, I'm going to introduce you to your own feels around the dental practice. And that's going to include if you work in a dental practice or if you own the dental practice. I'm going to be talking to both of you. You know, it just seems like every day in a dental office, there are so many different things that we feel. There's the elation of having the practice or getting a job, and the satisfaction that we feel in taking good care of people. And then there's frustration in there. There's frustration when we feel like we're really not understanding each other, or people are misinterpreting what we're saying. There's some defensiveness that comes in when we're worried that maybe somebody thinks we're not doing a very good job or something. And what we're going to do today is we're just really going to explore that. We're going to get into what our brain is doing that's making us feel frustrated or defensive. And we're going to look at alternative ways to kind of turn things around so that we're not creating this frustrating situation for ourselves anymore. So let me just check my notes here. What I want to do right now is, this is a workshop, not a lecture, which means I want you guys, whoever's listening right now, I want to hear from you. We're going to practice because I want you to be using the chat. I'm going to be asking you several questions. So right now, what I want you to do is find the chat button at the bottom of your screen and put in there, and I'll be watching for your answers here. What is your role and where are you from? And I'm just going to give you a couple seconds to figure out where that chat button is and answer these questions for me. I'll be watching for your answers to pop up. And I'm not going to say anything until you guys answer. So you might as well just go ahead and say something.
No, we're getting some, this is great. We've got an involved crowd. You've done a great job already. Thank you. Florida, California, Texas.
Maine, Ohio. Oh my
We have
gosh,
one from Germany there too as well. That was neat. That's like a first.
Philadelphia, lots of hygienists. That's awesome. We are so lucky to have hygienists who truly care about their profession. And we got some dentists too. All over.
It's a really good cross section geographically and also with the roles in the office.
Yeah. Welcome all of you. Thank you so much for coming. You're not going to regret this hour with us all together here. Oh, there's Illinois. Did you harvest your corn this weekend too? Just have to make fun of myself sometimes.
That's okay. Go for it.
Okay. I want you guys to answer one more question. There is something that you do in your dental practice that probably nobody else sees. It might be clearing up the traps at the end of every Friday, or you're the person who's really good at filling the hygiene slots that's empty. I personally own my practice. I sign an annoying number of forms. I hate the forms I have to sign. I want to hear what you guys do in your practice that nobody else sees. a little bit of a, nobody's appreciating it, but you're silently doing it. Getting through a thorough medical history, chart audits, notes, comforting patients. Oh, there's notes again. Yep, nobody really sees those. Coordinating everything. They wouldn't even know that you're such a good coordinator unless you stop doing it, right? Charting, doing the treatment, absolutely paying the bills, refilling the water reservoir in the room.
Listening to patient problems. I like that.
Yeah, taking all the garbage to the dumpster. That's so true. It's amazing how many things we do in a day or a week, isn't it? Like if we had to add up all the little actions that we take, all the things that we do in a dental practice, it would take days just to make the list of the things that we do. And we're going to get back to that in a little bit. But what I want to do right now is I just want to invite us all to take a minute to embrace the feeling of vulnerability. And what I mean by that is when we're learning about our feelings, it's okay for us to say to ourselves, I can see that I've made a mistake. And that's okay, because if we made a mistake, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with us personally. It's we're learning how not to do something and we're going forward and we're learning how to do something. And talking about our feelings and our thoughts and stuff like that, it's not something that we really talk about that much in dentistry. And I'm really going to be getting into the weeds with you here. And if I can get us all to a vulnerable space, then we're going to learn more. So usually this workshop is presented live, and people actually tell me some of their vulnerable things. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go first, and then you guys can keep your little vulnerable abilities to yourself. And I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I've done in my life that are definitely mistakes. So this is a good one. When I was in my very early 20s, I married a man that I knew almost nothing about, and consequently later got divorced. And the really embarrassing part, and I shouldn't be embarrassed, right? It's vulnerability. I almost did it again. Got engaged almost immediately to somebody else. So don't recommend that, but I did learn how not to do that. So that's good.
Thank you for your candor. Yeah, thank you.
Here's a little bit more of a serious one. I have embarrassed my team members in front of patients. And sometimes it was never on purpose, but I have absolutely done that. And I have led my business for years. I led it without properly understanding why our feelings matter so much in a dental office and in any business, why they matter, both my feelings, my employees' feelings, my patients' feelings. And I didn't really understand how my thoughts created the behavior that I was demonstrating. And that includes how I communicate to my patients and especially my employees. So if I was thinking something like, oh my goodness, she's doing it again, that was creating behavior that wasn't good leadership. Okay, and I'm going to be explaining to you through this workshop today how that all fits together, so that if any of us have, excuse me, just a little water. If any of us have bad thought habits that are creating behavior we don't want, maybe we're being defensive or accusatory, we can figure out where the bottom of that is and move forward and do better next time. Okay, so there's no shame in this. We're just moving forward. Okay, so get out your typing fingers again, because I'm going to ask you a question. It's kind of fun. I love reading everybody's answers to this question. But what I want you to think about for a moment is, why is it so challenging to communicate well in a dental office? And I'll get you started. I'll give you a couple of answers while you're thinking about it. And then I'm gonna read some of your answers. But here's one of the things that I think is what makes it hard. And then I'm going to hear from you. The boss is also the head technician. And the more successful the boss is, the more busy he or she is not leading, because he or she is what I like to call making tooth dust, meaning the drill is turning, right? The more successful we are, the more that drill needs to turn, which means we're not spending time bleeding. And most of the time, not always, but a lot of dentists are introverts. So they just want to be in there working on teeth instead of communicating. So that's one idea. And I want to hear from you all what you think makes it hard to communicate well in the dental practice. Oh my gosh, we're getting so many answers here. Hierarchies, different personalities, stressful profession, no time, egos, yeah. Stressful environment, overbooked. It's really difficult to hear positive criticisms. It is hard, isn't it? But we have this part of our brain, it's the amygdala way back here. The amygdala's job is to protect us. And when we start to feel criticism, the amygdala jumps out and goes, no, 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 that's not correct. And then we can't hear what we need to do better. Everyone's on different platforms. Lower ranking soldiers can be, oh shoot, it's moving around, can be afraid of speaking up to an officer. Absolutely different languages in the dental field. The time element, these are all so good. I'm just gonna read real quickly what I have written down. It's basically what you guys said. We have a timing problem. A lot of times when I want to say something to my employee about what I want them to do differently, we're in front of a patient and the patient's getting surgery on their tooth, because even if it's not, in the gums, it's still surgery, it's still a body tissue. And my patient is completely awake and hyper paying attention to what I'm saying. So I can't say, hey, assistant, I want you to do this differently. I have to remember it and talk about it later. And then Brene Brown talks about how it's so much easier, more automatic for us in teams to be complaining about somebody else instead of giving them feedback face to face. And especially in a dental office, I think this is so common. Maybe the team has been trained by leaders in the past or the current leader that they can't solve the problems, or that they might speak up, but the leader doesn't listen. Maybe there's this past history of a boss not having good listening skills, or of employees not having good listening skills. And I'll tell you a secret to all of you employees out there, this is a hard one. Secretly, deep down, most dentists are worried that you guys don't like us. We're like, oh, I don't know if I'm a part of this club or not. And I'm not sure if I should say this thing, but how maybe I want them to take this x-ray a little bit differently or something, because we're worried that that'll mean we're not a part of the pack. And being a part of a pack is an innate human need. This is something that's deep within our biology, that we want to be a part of the club. Jim, do you have anything you want to add here? Any answers that you read that I missed?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment, which is, and this came up in the chat, and it's a really great point, is that in other elements of medicine, the patients are anesthetized. They're out completely, right? And so dentistry, the patient's heightened because they're typically awake. Yes. And like you mentioned, people are in their mouths. So it actually makes it so much more challenging for the staff to communicate and in some type of code or cryptically. So that element just adds to it. So thank you for offering me that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really big challenge, because I'll tell you what happens next is a lot of times. So if I don't say something about that x-ray, then later it's the end of the day and I just want to go home and I don't want to talk to somebody about how I want them to do something differently. I just want to go home. And so there's that other element, is that things have to wait. And then by the time you can talk about it, you just are tired and you don't want to do it anymore. So what I want to do is introduce to you that if you pay attention through this hour, this workshop is going to help with some of these challenges. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of science in my life coach training to help you understand how our brains that are built in a certain way, very predictable way, just like livers are predictable and kidneys are predictable, our hearts are predictable, our brains are too, and the way we have thought patterns are predictable. And I'm going to show you how sort of like the default brain patterns mixed with a little bit of dentistry can kind of create this challenging environment and then speak to you about how we can make it easier. And what I'm going to help you understand by the end of this lecture is how what's going on in our minds trickles into how we are acting towards each other and towards our patients and towards our businesses. And so for the purpose of this workshop, what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a minute to just think about you as an organism. Okay, so you've got your flesh and your bones, your blood, you've got all of your sensory organs, you've got your brain that kind of transmits everything, makes meaning out of it. And this body that you have has been created by nature. Nature created this organism to serve its purposes. So for the purposes of biology class, if you remember what life means, we try to stay alive and we propagate the species. Okay, so that's what nature wants of this organism. And then of course we're human, so we have kind of like a higher awareness of who we are. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring all of this together, and you're going to understand what's happening in your mind so much more than you have before. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use a life coaching tool. I'm going to teach you about the tool today, and you can use it in your life, whether it's about your dental practice or your marriage at home or any situation. You can use this tool, and it's called the model. And it was developed by Brooke Castillo, who is the teacher who taught me how to be a life coach at the Life Coach School. And by the way, if you really like the model, you can learn more about how she uses it on her podcast. She's got a podcast called the Life Coach School podcast. So the model can be used to look at any situation, and that's definitely going to include anything that's happening in our dental offices. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you about the different components of the model first, and then I'll show you how they all fit together. So the first component of the model is facts of the situation. So basically facts are, I have a picture of a scale here. They're things that are neutral, they're not good or bad, and I can measure them. Or if I were a fly on the wall, I could describe the words that somebody said or exactly what happened. And it's basically the data that's coming into our brain. So right now, for example, I can look outside my window and I see blue and white. Then the light is coming in, my rods and cones are showing that information to my brain. And then my brain says, oh, it's sunny outside. Okay, so I can see that it's sunny, and that is a fact. I could say, I work at Smith Family Dental. That's not the name of my dental practice. Or I own Smith Family Dental. And those are examples of facts. And what's really important for you to understand, especially as we move forward, is that facts are not movable, and everybody in the world will agree with something that is a fact for the purpose of the model. Okay. The next component of the model is thoughts. So the thoughts are the sentences in our minds that help us understand what's happening around us. So, I said it's sunny outside, right? That's a fact. You can actually look at the ball of glowing flame and you can say, yes, it's sunny. But I might think in my mind, oh, I love the sun, or I hate the sun. And those are thoughts. Those are, we're processing what we think about that. Or, with the Smith Family Dental thing, I might think to myself, my job is hard, or I hate being the boss. These are examples of thoughts. And what's really important for you to understand is that thoughts are interpretations of the data, and they can be positive or negative. And most importantly, what I want you to know is that thoughts are voluntary, meaning they might be automatic. They might pop up really quickly. I have a sister who really hates being in the sun. And I am sure that her brain automatically goes, let's move to the shade every time we're taking a walk or whatever. That happens automatically. But because she's a human, she can say, oh, I'm thinking, let's move to the shade. And I can choose to keep that thought, or I can choose to let it go. That's very, very important for as we're moving forward with how to utilize the model to make something better or different. Okay. As we go through using the model, one of the most important things is learning the skill of separating the facts of the situation from our thoughts about the fact. That is where our power lies, in that, because when we can identify something as simply a thought, then we get to choose whether we're going to keep it or throw it away. Okay, here's one more example. So I am restoring number 15 distal buckle. That is a fact. I can actually take a picture of the prep that I just did, and I can think about, how I'm going to design the prep design or whatever, excuse me. But if I think to myself in my mind, this filling is hard, which I'm definitely going to think, and you're not going to change my mind. Filling 15 distal buckle is hard. So, and I recognize that's voluntary, but I'm keeping that thought. Number 15 distal buckle is hard. So that's a thought. Whereas I am restoring number 15 distal buckle is neutral. It's a fact. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the difference between facts and thoughts before I move on? Just checking. This is not a required participation at this point. Just want to make sure I'm really clear about that. Okay, so far I'm not seeing anything. Jim, can you let me know if a thought?
Yes, I will. I'll monitor the Q&A feed, and
okay.
Yeah, we're getting confirmation that you're on point. So thank you.
Okay, amazing. No, it is not clear. Okay, Narain, I hope I said that right. If you have a specific question about why it's not clear, let me know and I'll try to answer it.
No, so Laura, that's interesting. You interpreted it as it was no, it is clear. There just wasn't a comma there. There you go.
You. Okay, yeah,
that's a good example, right?
Yeah, thoughts, facts. Like if you
right.
could, that was really good. So the fact is that Narain typed in, no, it is clear. And my thought was, Narain doesn't understand. And I was wrong. Okay, so we've got facts and we've got thoughts. And then the next one is emotions. What I want you to understand about emotions is emotions are ancient. They're from way before humans existed. I mean, like, think about your dog, right? Every time I pop that popcorn that I grow out in my yard, as soon as my dog hears the pop, pop, pop and smells it, she comes in with this real sad look on her face. Like as soon as you look at a dog's face, emotions are not just for humans. But have you ever thought about what emotions are or why they're there? I mean, if nature made emotions, then they must have a purpose, right? So emotions are a physical vibration, literally. If you get down to the base of it, you can use physical words to describe an emotion. So for example, when I feel embarrassed, my face starts to feel hot. Okay. Or if I feel really, really sad, I get a tingling sensation that goes all the way to the tips of my fingers. And every emotion has a physical vibration that goes through our body. And we're so used to feeling them that a lot of times we don't even notice. And what's really interesting is the reason we have emotions is because nature is trying to tell us what to do. So for example, if a baby, this is why I have this picture on here, a baby has needs, maybe it's feeling cold or lonely or whatever, it cries. Okay, so the emotion tells the baby what to do, and the crying is the action. I'm going to talk about action in a minute. If someone feels love, then they're going to reach out to the person that they're loving. If there's a bear who has humans nearby and they've got babies, they're going to feel angry because nature wants the mama bear to be angry so the mama bear will know what to do to protect her cubs, if that makes sense. So that's emotions. Really important to understand. You guys, everything that we do it because of our emotions. There's nothing that we do that's not driven by an emotion. So if we can understand how we're feeling, that makes it a lot easier for us to understand how to change how we're acting. And then the next component, the last one that I'm going to teach you about today, is actions. Actions is just how we describe the things that we do. And we do them because biology is encouraging us to do these things. So our emotions always drive our actions. And basically what the way nature has it set up is, again, you think about yourself, your body as an organism, and nature has like an agenda for this organism, right? Nature wants this organism to stay alive, to stay safe, to protect itself, look for dangers, and of course, reproduce, because nature, that's what it wants. So if I feel afraid, the action that I'm going to take is going to be that I'm going to run away and hide. If I feel angry, like that mama bear, I'm going to attack. If I feel overwhelmed, like almost every one of you dentists on here, and maybe some of the team members too, guess what happens when we feel overwhelmed? Nothing. We don't do a single thing when we feel overwhelmed. Okay, and that's nature. I like to think about the deer. I live on a gravel road. I have to look for deer all the time, because if they step in front of me, they're going to get overwhelmed and they're just going to stand there and stare at me. And this is this perfect example. So I have a lot of clients who are doing that. They're deer in the headlights at me, like, what do I do, Dr. Laura? Okay, so if I put all of these things together, this is called the model. Okay, so I've got my facts of the situation, like it's sunny outside, and my thoughts about the facts. So my thought might be, oh my goodness, I hate the sun. That's a thought. It's voluntary, but it creates an emotion. Whether I want to get rid of it or not, I've got a thought, an emotion in there. And the emotion, if I hate the sun, might be annoyance or anger or something like that. And then that annoyance is going to drive me to take action. So like my sister would be like, let's move to the shade or whatever. So it all fits together. And so the reason that I'm showing you this in this cascade way here is because I want you to understand everything that we do in our dental practice is down here in actions, whether it's taking out the trash, like we said, or doing the notes, comforting the patients. All those things are actions. And if we're doing an action that we don't want to do or that we want to change, let's say I'm getting snippy with one of my employees. If I want to change how I'm acting, according to the model, what I need to do is back up 2 steps to what I'm thinking. I can't just tell myself, Laura, be nicer, because I'm still mad. And if I'm still mad, that I can pretend to be mad. I'm going to tell you right now, employees can read your mind. They're going to know if you're still mad. You can't just try to be nicer. We have to go back if we want change, and we have to look at our thoughts. So we're going to play with this model a little bit now that you've seen these, how these fit together, and we're going to make some models. So I'm going to give you a non-dental example first. So let's pretend that your sister had a baby and you're at your baby's shower, your sister's baby shower, and your sister's got some treats and she's going to open her presents. So somebody gives you the baby and puts the baby in your arms. Okay. So the fact of the situation is that your arms are supporting the baby. Everybody in the world can look and see you're holding this baby. It's neutral. It's not good or bad. However, because biology, we're kind of pre-wired to like these babies, right? Not everybody does, but if it's my sister's baby, especially, I'm probably going to be like, I just want to love and take care of this baby. And that's the sentence that's going through my mind. And that sentence is going to create a feeling of love. And the loving feeling then directs me to take action, which is to cuddle the baby and smile at it and to tell everyone what holding the baby is like. Oh, she's so soft, and look at her tiny little toes, and all those little lovey things. Okay, so that's an example using the model, figuring out the baby shower. Okay, now I'm going to give you a dental example, and we're quickly getting into more loaded situation here, but that's what we're here for, right? We're trying to make things better when they're challenging. We already recognize it can be a challenge to talk to each other in a dental practice. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this made up example that I made. I use it all the time. You're a busy dentist and you just were extracting number 15 and the palatal root broke off and you had to go digging for it. Meanwhile, you had 4 hygienists across the hall telling you that they're ready for an exam. And so you finally get the root out and take off your gloves and you step out of the operatory and the office manager walks up to you and she's like, hey, I was putting in this EOB and I know you told me that if I see any really bad write-offs that I should come and tell you. So look at how much this insurance company is asking us to write off for these class 2s that you did. That was so much work. And so, as a dentist, that's not super good timing for me. I'm feeling overwhelmed already. I'm really busy and I'm really upset about this money, right? I just had to write off a bunch of money.
Right.
And I have this habit, I could tell you this whole story, but I used to tell myself I was a victim of the insurance company. Like they get to make all the rules and then I have to do what they say. But the thing is that when I think of myself as a victim, I feel violated. And that brings out my amygdala, that part of me that feels like it needs to protect the organism. And because my office manager is the one standing in front of me, then I get snippy with her. Well, why didn't you double check the surfaces before we submitted this? Oh my gosh. And also, I might rehearse in my head again and again, I'm the victim of the insurance company. They're doing this. I worked so hard on those class 2s and now I have to write all that money off. And what I don't do is I don't sit down with my office manager and go, you know what? I think maybe we need to sit down and look at this fee schedule and decide if we want to keep this insurance contract, because I'm thinking, I'm not there because I'm a victim, right? I'm not taking that kind of action. So can you all see, and just put in a yes or a no here, how I am a victim here created the action of kind of acting like an asshole. I'm getting some insights.
It's a great example though, right? We can all relate to it if you've been in dentistry for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting lots of yeses. Thanks, everybody. Okay. All right. Now let's do this model again, but let's do it from the office manager's perspective. Okay. So here's the office manager. She's putting in EOBs, getting the checks in. And she remembers that her boss said, I need to know if any of these EOBs suck because I'm not really sure about this insurance company. So she hears the gloves come off, right? And she gets up with her EOB and she's like, look at this. And then the boss says, well, why didn't you check the services before submitting this? And there's a little bit of nonverbal in there, guys. And it's a little iffy whether I can put that in the fact line or not. But let's just say the boss did this and just kind of pointed his or her finger at the office manager. Okay, so that is a fact. We can put that in there. Well, what's the office manager going to think about that? And I mean, I just made this up, but she or he doesn't appreciate everything that I do. And then the emotion that the office manager is going to feel is going to be unappreciated. And I just made this up, but let's just imagine she goes back to her desk, right? Thinking about getting a new job, probably complaining to a coworker or maybe somebody at home. Definitely the next time there's a crappy EOB, is she going to show the boss? Heavens no, she doesn't want to get her head bit off. And she's feeling bad, so she's also not really greeting patients the way she used to. Okay, so this is another example of using the model to kind of figure out what happened. And what I want you to see here is she doesn't appreciate everything I do is still a thought. Okay, so we're gonna get into this more. I'm gonna show you that even if you're not the boss here, you still get to choose your own thoughts. And we're gonna come back to this example. Okay. All right. So let's play with this a little bit more. What I want you to see here is everything adds up to the action. Like everything that we do in our practice is actions. And the fact of the situation is that I lost my place. Just a minute. The practice exists. The words you could put in the fact, words people said to you. You could put a clinical outcome or exactly the procedure that you did. You could put math in the fact line, like we did this much production, we did this much collection, we had these many new patients. And all of these things are at the top here and they're immovable. They're things that we can prove to each other. And then the thoughts are the things that we think about our practices or our employment, our patients, our coworkers. And these things, I want you to understand that the brain's tendency is always to protect your organism, okay? And because of that, it's going to tend towards the negative. Positive, happy-go-lucky brains did not keep Homo sapiens alive 2,000 years ago. Negative brains that were looking for problems were the ones that got a chance to reproduce and make more humans who were negative, okay? And because we have a tendency to think the negative thoughts, that means that we end up with emotions that are also negative. And so then we end up with actions that we don't mean to do. Okay, so as we are generating change, what we're going to do is we're going to recognize that our brains have a tendency to be negative, but we're also going to recognize that as humans, we can choose new thoughts, and that is where everything changes. Okay. So our dental practice is an accumulation of our actions. What we think leads to how we feel, and that leads to what we say and how we say it. So if we want communication to change in our office, it starts with what we are thinking. And our practice becomes a manifestation of what's going on between our ears. What I'm going to do in this next part of this workshop is I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to manage what's happening up here. Okay, any questions so far? While I regroup and take a glass of water here. Any questions?
I think we have a lot of like just chat related items, but nothing, no questions yet. And again, if there are questions, I'd ask the participants to use the Q&A field. That way it pops up for Dr. Laura and myself. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, good. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to show you another part of this coaching tool called an intentional model. So we're making this model again, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to recognize when we put it together that we are actually in charge of what happens between our ears. And we're going to pre-choose something to think and to practice thinking and to think it over and over and over again, because that's how we make a thought habit. And as we practice thinking it, we'll be ready for the next time our brain wants to come out and protect our organism. Okay. So the office manager comes to us and she says, the insurance EOB says we have to write off X number of dollars. And so this is maybe this is a dentist who's gone through my mastermind. Okay. And he or she says to herself, I am grateful that my office manager showed me this and I can do something about it because this is my business. Okay, which is so amazing that we have so much more control over our practices in dental than we do in medicine and so many other businesses in dental. It's by appointment only. We get to choose. We get to choose and make our practices the way we want them. So if I'm thinking that to myself, then I'm not feeling victimized or angry anymore because I have created myself a thought that makes me feel empowered. If I feel empowered, then I'm going to handle the situation a lot better. So I'm going to show appreciation to the office manager. I'm going to schedule right now, I'm going to put a meeting in the schedule to go over this insurance contract with him or her. And then I'm also going to, as I'm feeling empowered, I'm going to learn how to talk to patients about their benefits and how to talk to them about the treatment that they want, as opposed to what insurance says they should or should not get. So I'm extrapolating here, but as I'm feeling empowered, I'm creating this practice that I want instead of telling myself that I'm a victim. Okay. And let's look at it from the office manager's perspective. There we go. Because the office manager has a brain too, which means that he or she can also choose to have a new thought. Okay. So the boss does the nonverbal language thing, right? And says, why didn't you check the surfaces? But maybe the office manager has learned about intentional models and she or he says to herself, I think maybe my boss is feeling like their organism needs protecting today. You know, maybe my boss isn't having that good of a day. And that's going to create a feeling of understanding. Oh, this reminds me, I was going to tell you, Brene Brown says that if you tell yourself everyone's just doing the best they can. She said, someday it's not always true, but if you think it in your mind, it makes your day and your life so much easier. So you can think that in your mind. Just say, my girl Brene says that everyone's just doing the best they can. And then I want you to see in this action line here, we schedule a meeting with the boss to discuss the insurance contract and draw a boundary regarding accusatory language, because just because I'm feeling understanding doesn't mean anyone's expecting me to lay down and get abused all the time. Nobody wants to work in an environment like that. So if I'm feeling understanding and competent, then I can say to the boss, look, I understand you're feeling like you need to protect your organism. No problem. You're having a hard day. And I don't want you to talk to me that way. I don't want you to use the finger pointy thing. Okay. And then work towards positive change, figure out how we're going to deal with these big fat EOB write-offs. And what I want you to see here again is the reason that the outcome is different is because this office manager has done her work beforehand and she's ready. She understands. Her boss might be feeling like their organism needs protecting today. Okay. Any questions or comments now that we should check on before we keep going?
I think we're going great. We've got about 14 minutes left. I know you got some great material to cover.
Okay. All right. I'll keep going. Thanks. Oops. Went too far. Okay. Everybody get your typers out. What I want to do is I want you guys to play with this. We're just going to spend like 60 seconds on each of these questions. I want you to put in your typer, what are some things in your dental office that affect how the team members feel? So for example, do we have a morning huddle? Is the dentist running on time? Are you working with people who listen to you well? That type of thing. And I want to see what you guys say about how, okay, we've got pay, wage, amount of patients in the waiting room. Yeah. If you look out there and every butt is filled, oh my goodness, that's morning huddles, definitely waiting for exams, appreciation. I hear that one all the time. Overbooking, pay, time management, workload, all that, emergency patients, morning huddle again, morale of coworkers, dentist attitude. Yes, yes. All of those things affect how we feel, and how we feel matters, right? Dentists, if you're listening to this right now, keep in mind your team members' feelings create their actions, and their actions are your dental practice. So take notes here on what these team members are saying. Morale, office assistant is falling behind the schedule, waiting for exams, these types of things, they affect your practice. Okay, now what I want to do for a second is I want to move on, and I want you to tell me how you think dental team members want to feel at work. And what's the most useful thing to feel? Like, is it helpful? Is it appreciated? Is it grateful? Well, I want to hear what you guys think team members want to feel. I've got motivated, valued, respected, appreciated, well compensated, appreciated,
Supported. Yeah.
supported, excited to be at work. That's awesome. Okay. So what's beautiful about this, and I assume I'm mostly talking to the team members right now, but dentists, you can hear this too. This appreciation feeling can come from within yourself. You don't need anybody else to do anything to feel it. However, bosses, your actions become your employees' facts of the situation. So what I'm telling you is that you can influence through good leadership. You can help them with this appreciated feeling. Okay. Next one. What do you all think are some things that affect the dentist's feelings at work? So, for example, if the dentist is doing a number 15 distal buckle for like not that much money and then falling behind because it's hard, not having the right tools. Okay, so like if a room isn't set up correctly, that might team member saying that's not my job. Okay, yep, that's right. Anxiety about meeting demands of the practice. Incompetency, yes, I will tell you I've been doing this life coaching thing for a while. Most dentists are worried that they are not competent. Workload, difficult cases, patients showing up late, unexpected procedures, imperfect results. There's that thing again. We're worried that we're not good enough. That happens a lot. Rude patients, difficult treatment, poor work ethic. I'm going to add some in here because sometimes I get positive feelings at work too. And it's like, yes, we got some new patients today, or that crown turned out beautiful, or I did something that really changed someone's life today. Positive energy, yeah, can make the day for everyone. Home life, absolutely. That home life thing is for both the employees and the bosses, right? But how do you think dentists want to feel at work? What do you think? You know, we're worried a lot, right? But how do they want to feel? Supported, absolutely. Carefree, happy, yes, absolutely. Accomplished, for sure. Like the team is working together, everything running smoothly, appreciated, accepted, understood. There's respected again, competent, calm and happy, positive. Yeah, all of that. We're worried and we just want to not be worried. We don't want to be stressed. We want to feel like everything is going to be okay. So I have another model here that I put together, and I want you guys to help me finish the model because you guys are like model experts by now since you've been participating and paying attention so well. So let's go back to this situation with the big giant write-off. Okay, this is a dentist who owns her practice. She's worried about the bottom line. This is another confession to you employees. We are always worried. We're not quite sure yet that our practice is going to be okay. So when we see a big write-off like this, our amygdala goes, oh my goodness, protect the organism, alert, alert, alert. And then the thought is, my practice might fail and I don't know what to do. You would be surprised how many dentists think this on a regular basis. And then the emotion that's going to be created from that thought, which becomes a habit, and so they think it over and over and over again, is worry. Okay, now I want you guys to tell me, picture your worried dentist, worried boss, or yourself, if you're a dentist and you're the boss. What are you going to do? How are you going to act or not do? Because I've got do and don't do on here. How are you going to act if you're worried? I could come across as greedy, absolutely. Maybe have a team meeting, get snippety, for sure. I definitely get snippety when I'm worried. Distracted, yep, maybe hide. Go look at, I'll go in my office and I'll just like look in the bank accounts. Is there enough? Not focused. Okay. Shut down, sure. I'm not going to be a good Brene Brown type leader if I'm feeling worried because I'm in protect the organism mode, right?
Right.
Review expenses and balance the budget in areas that will not affect the patient. Yep. So taking steps to just kind of batten down the hatches, right? That's, yeah. Attack the first one I see. Absolutely. I'm there with you. I'm there with you. It's natural, right? Mama bear. Okay. So let's do another one. We have a couple more minutes, right? Yeah. Let's do a model of a confident boss. Okay. So let's pretend I saw my employee fill some hygiene holes. I didn't even have to ask him or her to do it. She just did it. And I think to myself, my team has got my back. And then I feel confident because I'm picturing my team supporting me. Okay. So how am I going to act if I feel confident? What is my leadership going to look like? Provide staff with incentives, act positive. Yeah. Reward the staff. Not absolutely not micromanaging. Micromanaging is on the old model, right? When we're worried, when we're not worried, we're like, good job. Nice work. Thank you so much. Positive, happy, and approachable. You can talk to somebody feeling confident. You can say, hey, you know what? I saw something I think we might need to change. Yeah, let's change something. Appreciate everyone. Lunch on me. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, now let's do this for our employees, okay? Employees, if you are listening to me right now, we are grateful for you. We need you. And sometimes when we're worried about our practice, about our business, nobody taught us how to do this. Sometimes we don't do a very good job of showing you how appreciative we are. And so let's pretend I'm being a little bit of an asshole because I'm worried, and I say, you know what, you're doing that wrong. Okay. And then the employee thinks to themselves, my boss doesn't even see all those things I do. Like the things that you told me about at the beginning of this thing, taking the trash out and writing the notes and all those things. And the thing is that when we feel unappreciated, there's certain actions and inactions we're going to take. So we're going to play with this a little bit more because we have just a few more minutes. What is an employee who's feeling unappreciated going to act like? What's he or she going to do? Not helpful. Don't want to be in a place I'm not appreciated, so maybe consider leaving. No motivation, look for another job. I'm getting that a lot. Sabotage the office. Be selfish, not go above and beyond. Find another job. The bare minimum. Yeah, this is a dangerous one. Not feeling appreciated. Okay. But what about if we are feeling appreciated? Let's pretend the boss says, thank you so much. You know, at the end of every day in my practice, we have what's called an evening huddle. I just ring a little bell. Everybody comes together and we thank each other. Thank you so much for going the extra mile for me today, or for filling that hole, or for helping me because I was behind. So what is someone who's feeling appreciated going to act like? A lot of energy and pride in the work we do, being happy, absolutely, all in, want to do even more for the team, for sure. You want to do even more. Yes, that's awesome that I do that in my office. I know, I love it. That took some practice. Makes me work hard, more willing to do more. Yeah, people think it's about the pay, but to get people to work harder, but it's really about the appreciation. Not that you shouldn't pay your employees well, because I believe in that too. I would try my best every day and show my appreciation. That's awesome. Okay. So what you're going to say to me right now in my last 2 minutes is, but Laura, how do I feel something more intentional? If I'm already worried or I'm already feeling unappreciated, how do I change how I feel? Okay. Because now you can see it's so important, right? And it all goes back to what's happening between your ears. And this is where life coaching comes in. This is why I became a life coach, because I was having a bad year and I wasn't acting like a leader. And life coaching helped me be aware of what I was thinking. And what we want to do is we want to practice when there's certain exercise we can do where we work on our awareness and we practice feeling our feels as opposed to resisting them. We practice separating out thoughts from facts so that it's clearer, and we rehearse the new thoughts that we want to use through metacognition. So yeah, the mind is such a powerful thing. It sounds so like out in the air to be like, your belief is powerful, but it really is, because it affects how what your emotions are. All right, Jim, did you see any additional questions or comments in there you think I should throw out?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, we only have an hour, and I think we've got a lot of good feedback so far. So one of the questions is that came up here, that if I can pose this really quickly, is I find myself feeling overwhelmed a lot, which I dislike or hate. How do I feel differently?
So if you're feeling overwhelmed, the very first step is, you already did it, and that is that you name your feeling. Name it. Say, I see that I am feeling overwhelmed right now. And not only name it, but describe it to yourself. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I feel like I can't move at all. I feel like I'm just stuck here and I don't even know the first thing to do. So maybe I should just sit here in this place. And this is what it feels like to feel overwhelmed. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're just going to do some thought awareness and figure out what your mind is telling you that's making you feel overwhelmed. Because if you are feeling a feeling, any emotion at all, it is coming from a thought. So then that brings us back to thought awareness. And I am going to give out a free thought awareness guide at the end of this presentation. So you could actually download that yourself and figure out how to find the thought that's making you feel overwhelmed.
Laura, if you could bring up your contact information so people, if they want to reach out to you, there's been a lot of chat back and forth.